Hello, good evening. Welcome to News Tonight here on Metro Television. My name is Bridget Otu. Thank you very much for joining us on the night of the mid-year review, budget review. We have details of what the minister said and more. Stay with us for the headlines. And so it begins. Shouts of resign, resign, resign from the minority greets Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta as he presents the 2022 mid-year budget review. Government reintroduces road tolls as minority alleges deception by government for bringing back tolls on new roads. Child Rights International cautions against attempts at sharing the cost of free SHS with parents as Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta hints the policy will not be reviewed. Coming up in business tonight, Bank of Ghana hopes an IMF-supported program will present a stronger and coordinated monetary and fiscal policy framework as it maintains monetary policy rate at 19%. We have details of these stories and more. Thank you very much for joining us for the bulletin tonight. Hello again. Our very first story, and the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo administration has not asked for extra funds with the 2022 mid-year budget, and this is despite reduced revenues and the underperformance of the controversial electronic transfer levy, as announced by the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta during his presentation of the mid-year review today. And here is a wrap of the presentation.
The minister then repeatedly the Ghanaian economy
We'll definitely go back and bring you a wrap or highlights of the budget. But the minority had a lot to say. The minority caucus in Parliament later addressed the press and repeated calls for the Finance Minister to resign over the poor management of the economy.
The Finance Minister told us one of the reasons he cancelled the road toll was because road toll collection ends up creating pollution in the environment. He said because of pollution, he stopped the collection of the tolls. Today, he's saying that they are going to build a motorway as a part of PPP. As we speak, the people who have lost their job as a result of what he did, some of them are standing here. He hasn't said anything about paying them. So we are saying that this government can never be trusted. It's very disgraceful for him not to apologize to the people of this country that when he spoke in 2021 and then in the 2022 budget, he actually lied about the status of the Tema motorway. And for the road toll, I want to commend him for at least today he didn't pray before starting. But interesting, today he told a little bit of truth.
Everything in this country is not working. Yet the minister responsible for finance appeared before us and said nothing. He failed to address the very concerns of the ordinary Ghanaian. Today, he comes here once again only to tell us that he has missed all the targets he set in the 2022 budget. Every one of them, he could not achieve it. Everyone, he has missed them. Only for him to propose target that he's going to miss again in the year 2022 by the end of the year.
That reserves that the Bank of Ghana cooked and released last Friday after our press conference is of no consequence. The Minister for Finance said the reserve moved from 9 billion to 3 billion. Is that not it? Have they ever achieved a net international reserve of 9 billion before? It's gross. So if the minister said 9 billion to 3 billion, he was referring to gross international reserves. So the 7.6 billion gross international reserve cooked by the governor is in excess of $4.6 billion, which doesn't exist in the Bank of Ghana. So, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow we will start the debate. But suffice it to mean that our country is doomed, and I want to repeat my call on the president to sack Ken Ofori-Atta if he will not resign voluntarily.
And that was Isaac Adongo there. And so we'll hear from the majority as well. And the Deputy Majority Leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, lauded the presentation by the Finance Minister, which, in his opinion, provides hope for the future.
I will call on Ghanaians to keep faith, remain focused, have trust in this government. If today they are calling on the Finance Minister to resign, they are personalizing governance and attacking the Finance Minister, we dare ask them, did Setekwe resign? Did their ministers resign? No. Because in spite of their incompetence, they still believed in the collective. Today, they are proud to re-represent. They are proud of former President John Mahama. They want him to lead the nation again. They say they have no other choice apart from him. Is that so? If it is so, they should give us opportunity to transform the economy where it became a problem as a result of COVID and Ukraine-Russian war. We have demonstrated that with the policies in place, we will be able to get out of this.
Right. And the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo administration has not asked for extra funds with the 2022 media budgets. And this is despite reduced revenues and the underperformance of the controversial electronic transaction levy as announced by the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta during his presentation of the media budget review. I'll bring you highlights of exactly what happened in Parliament today.
The minister then repeatedly blamed COVID-19 and the Russian-Ukraine war on the woes of the Ghanaian economy. This has seen the government turn to the International Monetary Fund for support.
Ghana is facing a challenging economic and social situation amid an increasingly difficult global environment. The fiscal and debt situation has severely worsened following the COVID-19 pandemic. At the same time, investors' concerns have triggered credit rating downgrades, capital outflows, loss of external market access, and rising domestic borrowing costs. In addition, the global economic shock caused by the war in Ukraine is hitting Ghana at a time when the country is still recovering.
These challenges notwithstanding, the minister said the government was committed to staying within the appropriation for 2022 and turning the fortunes of the economy around. According to the minister, the Ghana Cares of Batampa project will be center of the IMF negotiations.
That we are not wavering at all in our resolve to turn this country around. Ours is a history of turning things around when the country is in crisis. When the MPP government took over the reins of government in 2017, we inherited a challenged economy under an IMF program, which we successfully turned around and exited the program in 27 months. Mr. Speaker, that is a fact. If the economy was not on track, we would not have been given the all clear.
Following speculations about the possibility of the free senior high school policy being reviewed, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has clarified that government has no such intentions.
Out of the 571,892 registered JHS students, 555,353, representing 97.1%, were placed into senior high schools this year. This is significant. We are aware of reported challenges in accessing and transporting food for students in SHS, and we are fixing it. In response, we have engaged stakeholders and devised a program that ensures that schools will not be disrupted and our students are well fed.
The minister revealed that users of the Accra-Tema motorway will be expected to start paying tolls again after the completion of expansion works on the road. He also had this to say in the areas of health.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to report that work has commenced in our various stages of construction in 87 out of the 111 sites earmarked to Agenda 111 project. With the majority of contractors at various sites, we are well on course to bridge the health inequality gap and strengthen the health system nationwide.
He concluded that times are hard, but believes in the overcoming spirit government saying the hard times will pass.
Safety of Ghanaians in the face of complex security threats is a major concern to government, and we are using a significant amount of resources to ensure that we keep our country and our people safe. Considering what is happening in the West Africa region, it is important that we prioritize national security, and we have. Whilst it will not be prudent to disclose the full cost of ensuring the security of this state, let me emphasize that it is significant. As a result, the Ghana Armed Forces is implementing an enhanced surveillance program for the country's airspace and international borders through collaboration with other domestic security agencies.
And that was highlights of Ken Ofori-Atta. And one thing that stood out was the security budget, which he says that it's significant, but he cannot give a figure. But it's not just what the finance minister is saying, it's what economists are saying, those who understand what's happening. And senior lecturer at the Faculty of Business of the Accra Technical University, Daniel Osabute, says the finance minister is indirectly requesting for more funds to facilitate government projects. According to him, the minister should have presented a supplementary budget to the House following the introduction of new government projects.
I was expecting supplementary budget.
Some estimates. Yes.
Some estimates.
Yes.
Because if you look at what he's projecting
Yes.
from now till December,
Okay.
it means that we are going to spend more.
Okay.
Okay?
How so?
Because he mentioned COLA, which was never captured in the budget.
Okay. Okay.
So we are going to
Okay.
pay additional 15%
Right.
to public sector workers.
Right. Right.
And then he also mentioned that our interest rate has also gone up because of the depreciation of the cedi. Because if you are paying external debt, you are paying interest rate on external debt, you don't pay in your local currency.
True.
So if the cedi has depreciated, definitely it means that you need more
Right.
to service that particular
True.
debt. So that will add up to the expenditure.
True.
So he asks, if you are not going to, raise more money, where will you get the extra to meet the exceeded expenditure? So I was taken aback when the NDC MP came out with the 22 billion.
Monies that have been
because
printed.
when he mentioned it, I'm like, so does it mean that was the money that they were really targeting to fill the gap? So if that is what is happening, then it means that indirectly, he's asking for more. My other disappointment was on the IMF. You see, people were looking forward to hearing something.
Okay.
What has transpired so far in terms of the negotiation? Where are we now?
Right.
Because we are hearing rumor.
Yeah.
Some are saying that the earliest that we can get this bailout,
First quarter
if
of
it is
next
granted,
year.
first quarter of 2023.
Yeah.
Is it true?
Okay.
Where are we as a country? And then the reintroduction of the roto.
Okay.
Fortunately for us this time, it is not just every road, but roads.
The new ones that are going to be built.
The PPP.
Okay.
One of the reasons why, in addition to rotos becoming pollution and all that, we were also told that the monies that were collected rather ended up in people's pockets and all that.
Yeah.
So is there a better way of managing the revenue collection?
Yeah.
Can we think of going electronic?
Right, and you heard the senior lecturer there. Also, we're going on Zoom to speak with the senior lecturer, University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Patrick Asumeni. Very good evening, and thank you very much for joining us. Good evening, Doc.
Interviewers.
Yes, Doc, I really want to pick on what the senior lecturer also said about how he's disappointed that the finance minister did not talk about where we are with IMF, especially with the rumors that are brewing, in the country, and also talk about where we are going to get extra funds to meet our exceeded expenditure. Did you see same, and what did you make of it?
Good evening again. I think, in some sense, there was the presentation was lacking in some relevant details, and I think the revenue and the expenditure part. Because if you look at it carefully, we have, the finance minister earlier admitted that some of the revenue measures are not performing.
Right.
But he has also indicated that we are going to, the estimates he gave, there's a reduction in the revenue by about 4 billion. And at the same time, he says that there's going to be a reduction in expenditures, but the expenditure reduction is much smaller. And then, but he goes ahead to say that our fiscal deficit target will be, is revised downwards.
Right.
So I think it's not irreconcilable. So, because don't forget that after the budget was read, the finance minister said we are going to cut some expenditures on the public sector, in particular government appointees, and they also brought in these measures about reducing non-essential travel. So there were those measures that were expected to, bring government expenditures down. So in some sense, you could say maybe, you are reducing some expenditure lines and increasing some expenditure lines. But I think it's right that the finance minister should have been a little bit more specific and giving a lot more detail about exactly what is being done on both the revenue side and the expenditure side. That is going to ensure that.
So Doc, we don't even know what has been accrued from those measures, like you said, cutting down salaries and other measures that was put in place. And again, why would the finance minister be silent or not give details about this? Why would he hide them?
Well, it's hard for me to say. I mean, I think for me that those were some of the details that were lacking, that were disappointing. It's not even just on the expenditure side. The revenue side, the e-levy is not performing well. It's not the only revenue line that's not performing well. Earlier on, we were projected to collect about 50% increment in trade taxes. A big part of that was the benchmark values. And we've seen that there's been some issues with the implementation. So we are not implementing it to the full. So I think it would have been good for the finance minister to tell us if a lot of revenue lines are underperforming, and yet you are only projecting less than a 4 billion CD reduction in the revenues. You should have been good to tell us which additional lines are coming in. That will ensure that, we are still performing relatively okay. So I think, not providing those details were a little bit, were quite disappointing.
But Doc, on the same thing, even if not Ken Ofori-Atta, why would finance ministers, at a time like this, when they say we're facing difficulties, whether it's Russia-Ukraine war or that there's a global pandemic, why will they be silent on certain details that are important for everyone who is interested in this budget?
Yeah, I wish I could provide that answer. I mean, there's no. In a time like this, when you need to win the support of Ghanaians, and when you need to be transparent so that investors abroad see that you are making a genuine effort, I think it's good that full disclosure is very important, and I think the finance minister should have provided a lot more information, a lot more detail, because at the moment it's left many questions hanging.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much for talking to us, Dr. Patrick Asuming, on the finance minister. So it's fair to say that almost all the economists or senior lecturers seem disappointed in the finance minister's short on details on very specific issues that needed, like he said, to build trust and be transparent, especially at a time like this. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll look at some more stories from Parliament in respect of the budget review 2022. Stay with us here on Metro Television. Right, so the finance minister is done with the presentation, but what do you make of it? And we went around, to get thoughts on this. And residents of the Ahafo region have expressed a mixed reaction to the budget review statement delivered by Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. While some of them believe the statement provided no hope, others feel disappointed over the partial reintroduction of road tolls.
we were looking forward to the allowances because I, for instance, my mom is the one taking care of me. So if he was to bring the allowances, I would have gotten money to buy my handouts and stuff without not stressing my period.
The economy has been so difficult, and concerning the allowance, me for instance, since last year, or let me say since I started school, I've not yet received any allowance. So it's making me like find it difficult in managing my life. We are very disappointed because we had a lot of hope in them that they will like help us, the nursing training students, because anyone who attends the nursing training school knows that it's like attending such school is very difficult. Yes, so we were happy when we heard that they've brought allowance for nursing training, but here's the fact that they've disappointed us a lot.
Well, we have nothing to say than to accept what the minister has presented to us. And my expectation was to hear from the minister the allowance of nursing and then the teachers' trainees. And then it couldn't appear the budget statement. So we have nothing to say than to accept.
And also from the Ashanti region, and residents expressed varied views on the presentation of the mid-year budget.
Koreata needs to just look things further, especially the ex-assets, because with look of things, the way even they are treating the buffer stock, how they are doing the supply, the voice of the people is the voice of the Lord. So Mr. Koreata should consider things that the people are saying, that this excess should be reviewed so that it can mitigate the burden on the government. And also, the government should cut the size, the elephant size of their ministers, because it is not helping. When you say anything, they all just wake up with Ukraine and Russia. Is that only Ghana is facing Ukraine and Russia war? That's not the truth. So we are urging the government, Mr. President, tell your finance minister to go down data to know, because when Mr. Koreata was managing data bank, he did his perfect and it's still pending. So how come Mr. Koreata cannot able also to do the same for Ghana? So this is what I just want to tell Mr. Minister to do well.
With economists to be able to know how to deal with the city depreciation as against the dollar. Other than that, all that we'll do will be in vain, because most Ghanaians have been important. And we should be able to also find some ways and means of improving the infrastructure in the economy. Last week, I understand that there was an approval of $750 million for most of the infrastructure projects. Most especially, when I live at Ebuakwa, I want my projects to be completed. I understand that $35 million has been earmarked for that, and the additional $250 million, I entreat the parliamentarians to approve of it so that Ghana will get back on track.
And the public discourse on the free senior high school continues with arguments and counter-arguments made for a review of the policy. The Executive Director of Child Rights International, Bright Appiah, however, argues any attempt to share the cost of the free senior high school with parents will defeat the purpose of the policy. He has therefore recommended that the government should elevate all social intervention programming aiding education in Ghana.
The free SHS policy was introduced under the Nanado and Bawumia government in 2017. It is to ensure over 120,000 students who, according to the Ministry of Education, could not access secondary education, do so. According to the statistics from the Ghana Education Service, 1.6 million young people have so far benefited from the free SHS program since its introduction in 2017. The policy has, however, been hit by challenges due to inadequate funding. Infrastructure for the large number of intake, textbooks, and recently shortage of food has bedeviled the policy. This has resulted in a public discourse, with some suggesting a review of the policy to allow those who can pay do so. The Executive Director of Child Rights International, Bright Appiah, however, argues any such sharing of cost defeats the purpose of the policy.
Once you share costs based on the foundation of it, the nature of the policy, then the policy itself ceases to be that particular policy. So that is the danger. So if there's a cost sharing, then probably you are redefining what the free SHS program should be. And for that matter, I take away the universality of the policy and then making it broader, for people to have access to it.
He recommended that government, as a matter of urgency, must set up a statutory body to ensure sustainability of the policy.
Government should be mindful of looking at issues of management, issues of textbooks, and then also elevating the social intervention programs within the education sector to a level of a statutory body so that government can be clear on what to do and then allocate resources so that we can finance it smoothly.
He suggested any review of the policy should be in the form of finding solutions to the challenges.
So there's a massive development going on when it comes to infrastructure. So that is also part of the review that we're talking about. So once you are putting the measures in place to be able to sustain the policy, you can also describe that as a review. So the review should to take a shape of resolving some of the challenges that we have in it so that we can have a smooth running of it.
In the past 5 years of implementation, government has announced that it has allocated a total amount of 7.62 billion Ghana cedis for the implementation of the free SHS program.
The Bureau of Public Safety, BPS, has called on the Interior Ministry and other law enforcement agencies to fight violent crimes executed with firearms. According to the Bureau, this type of crimes have gone up by 4% in 2022 compared to 2021, and this was contained in the Bureau's Public Safety and Crime Reports for the period January to June 2022. We'll bring you excerpts of that. All right, and it says here, total public safety incidents reported decreased by 0.2%. That's a good over the same period in 2021, being a total of 664 events as against 663 in 2022. Reported violent crimes decreased by 12% in 2022 compared to 2021, same period, 2021. Again, total reported deaths monitored increased by 9% from 501 deaths to 2021's 546 deaths in 2022. And total reported injuries monitored for the period in 2022 increased by over 35% compared to the same period in 2021. And reported use of firearms in the commission of violent crimes in 2022 increased by more than 4% over the same period in 2021, and reported cases of illegal possession, illegal arms, trafficking, possession, and unauthorized use increased by over 300% in the first half of 2022 over the same period in 2021. And data monitored showed a 2% increase in reported police arrests for the first half of 2022 compared to the same period in 2021. So Anis Ababa, if we can have the slide, the previous slide back, so Anis Adib Sani can speak to that. Good evening and thank you very much for joining us, Sani Adib.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, and he is a security expert. Good evening and thank you very much for joining us. I'm looking at the report and it says here that even where it says it has gone down, they're looking at some 4%. And then where it says reported cases of illegal arms, trafficking, possession, and unauthorized use increased by over 300%. Are you surprised the illegal arms went up by 300%? And what's the implications?
Well, I am not surprised because these days there's a penchant for the ownership of weapons, with some wanting it as a protective measure of some sort, considering the spike in criminality, especially towards the end of last year.
Right.
However, there are some individuals who also use it for the commissioning of crimes.
Right.
And lately, because of the myriad of chieftaincy and land disputes, just today, some villages were burnt around the Charponi area over a land dispute. They keep on bringing these weapons into Ghana. But what I am scared about is the fear of terrorists taking advantage of the porous nature of our borders and the nonchalant nature of Ghanaians, so far as their security is concerned, to bring in these weapons to be used for terrorist, activities against us. But what I find surprising is the difference. We have 300% increase in the trafficking. Right. However, there's only been about 4% increase in those weapons used. So is that to suggest that these people are just keeping the weapons waiting to strike?
Right. So what needs to be done then, especially when you're seeing that violent crime has gone down, but the possession, illegal trafficking of it has gone up by 300%? What needs to be done?
Well, first of all, we need to build institutional capacity to be able to address the scourge. We need to change the legislative regime. We don't have an arms regulator in Ghana, and that is quite unfortunate. There's a small arms commission which continues to be an advisory body rather than being a regulator. Any country that is serious about controlling arms within its territory would have a strong regulator. So first of all, we need to look at that. I know work is in progress. In fact, I'm one of those who have been brought together to even develop a new legislative regime for the Small Arms Commission, and I'm hoping that we would get the political support going forward.
Before you go, when you say institutional capacity, which institution are we talking about?
We are talking about particularly the Small Arms Commission, because for now, it is the IGP, based on the 1972 Arms and Ammunition Act, who is supposed to have a central register of all weapons in the country. Unfortunately, that is not the work of the police, and they suck at it. Excuse my language. They are not able to do it. So if we build the capacity of the Small Arms Commission, I'm pretty sure they should be able to do it. A lot of Ghanaians, about 1.25 million, have their guns license, but as at the close of 2020, only 40,000 persons renewed their licenses. Yet we know where they stay, we know their faces, we know their next of kin, we know their addresses, everything. Nobody is following up to ask, Mr. A, how come you licensed your weapon? We are in a new year. You've not come to renew, because the police is incapable of doing
because they are overburdened already with their core mandates.
That's not the core mandate of the police service.
No, I mean not the arms. That's in doing the police work and adding that, so they're overburdened already.
Absolutely.
Right.
So nobody has the time to follow up to find out why someone has not come to renew his license.
Thank you very much for talking to us. Sani Adibi is a security expert, sharing with us the report from the Bureau of Public Safety. We're taking another break. We'll come back and talk more on business, the monetary policy rate, and what the Bank of Ghana is saying, implications, all of that. Winston Taki is on standby, so stay with us here on Metro Television.
Welcome back to Newsnight Live on Metro TV. My name is Winston Taki. And out of four's business story, the Monetary Policy Committee has maintained the monetary policy rate at 19%. According to the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, this decision comes with the expectation that IMF-supported program will represent a stronger coordinated monetary and fiscal policy framework that will anchor stability.
The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana, at the end of the 107th meeting, has maintained the policy rate at 19%. Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, justified the decision.
I think that we went to a great deal of extent to demonstrate to you how the monthly inflation rates have behaved. And as we said in the presentation which I just made, we have seen a consistent decline in the monthly inflation rates. So we are convinced that the monetary policy actions that we have taken have had an effect, and we are seeing the rate of inflation, the pace at which inflation is going up, declining. That's very important. And therefore, we think that if we have not peaked, we probably should be peaking soon. This is what we make out of the data that we saw.
The governor noted that Electronic Levy Act is currently under review, but argues the levy must not be scrapped.
I don't think that it is time to scrap the e-levy. I think that the discussions that I've been privy to has been on the level of exemptions granted under the e-levy law. So I know that there is some work which is currently ongoing to relook at those exemptions, and hopefully when that work is completed, the levy would bring in more resources than it currently has done.
He confirmed Ghana's gross international reserves stood at $7.7 billion at the end of June 2022, but was optimistic the country will not experience a sharp fall in its reserves.
There has been an attempt to get some more foreign exchange from the loan which has just been passed by Parliament, 750 million, which hopefully should be coming in. And in the last quarter of the year, we are also expecting the annual cocoa syndication, hopefully this time 1.5 billion. I mean, if those transactions are concluded, that should also help to shore up the reserves of the central bank. So the outlook for reserves, I believe, are quite stable at this point. We are not expecting a very sharp drop in reserves going forward.
Meanwhile, banking consultant Nana Otuoye-Champong says the decision to maintain the policy rate at 19% comes as a good news to business and the economy at large.
The business community for some time has lamented on high lending rate. This was a result of the continuous increase in policy rate by the Bank of Ghana. But at the just ended MPC meeting, the rate was not increased but maintained at 19%. This, according to banking consultant Nana Otuoye-Champong, will ease pressure on businesses.
It must be very good news for the whole populace and especially for businesses, because the rate at which the cost of money was rising, it was not good for business. So now that it's been maintained, it brings a breather, and I think businesses will be happy to receive that piece of news. It will also be good for the economy, because after all, we said that more than 90% of our corporates are small to medium-sized businesses, and this is what they depend on. So it is a good piece of news. Now, if you listen to what he said, he built the scenario and saying that, yes, inflation has been rising, but at the same time, we see that in some key areas, inflation either has come down or is being maintained. And so this is one of the ways of using this inflation targeting as a macroeconomic model. That you don't go ahead simply because you appear to be rising somehow. But in reality, they saw in some areas inflation was either stable, or prices were either stable, or they were coming down slightly. So I think it's a good decision that has been made here.
He has been speaking on the current reserves of the country.
Our reserves will always be prioritized, but the question you ask ourselves is, why has it gone down? It's gone down because of rising prices. Our reserves, gold has gone down, but oil and other energy supplies have gone up. and we use our reserves to buy these things. So once you are using the reserves to buy, then naturally we will expect it to go down. But the fall is some few percentage. It's not as drastic as we anticipated with that error that was made, So we will start building again once international prices start going down. But as long as prices are going up, then the effect will be on our reserve. And it will not even be normal if prices are rising, where we are buying from the international market, especially in oil, and then reserves are also going up. It's not possible. So
he is optimistic that the economy will be stable in the coming days.
That'll be all for business here on Newsnight. My name is Winston Taki. We'll be back with sports after this break.
My name is Fayo John Quarter, and it's time for your sports. Members of the national table tennis team known as the Black Lubers are fine-tuned ahead of the start of the 2022 Commonwealth Games to be held in Birmingham, the United Kingdom. Team captain Derek Abrefa says that they know what is at stake.
Six table tennis players consisting of 4 males and 2 females are currently stationed in the United Kingdom preparing for the 2022 Commonwealth Games. The players, who are in Birmingham under the tutelage of head coach Anthony Owusu-Ansah, will represent Team Ghana at the table tennis competition at the Games. The players, led by team captain Derek Abrefa and Cynthia Kwabi, have plunged into serious training ahead of the Games. Other male players are Emmanuel Fori, Emmanuel Asante and Emmanuel Kome, while Tia Akunde and Cynthia Kwabi are lady players of the Black Lupers. After several hours of training session, team captain Derek Abrefa and Emmanuel Asante spoke about their preparation for the 2022 Commonwealth Games.
It's not our first Commonwealth Games. Last time we came and we lost in the round 16 to England, which is one of the good teams when it comes to table tennis. Currently, everyone is okay here. Our officials are making sure that everything is being put in place. We are sure that these very Commonwealth Games, we're going to come out tremendously well because we were in Australia, some were in Scotland, and so with the experience, I believe that in the current training we are going through with our coaches, I think Ghana is going to perform well in Birmingham.
Today, this season happens to be my second time of participation in the Commonwealth. Last 4 years was in Australia, and this year it's in Birmingham. And I'm proud to be part of the Ghana table tennis contingent. And as my captain has said, we are showing the association of getting them a medal at least. And we thank the association for their help and everything. So it is an assurance medal for the association.
That's your sports. My name is Fayo John Quarter. Up next, Showbiz.
My name is Osiodua Akumiano. It's time for entertainment news. Universal Music Group has launched a service dedicated to helping independent African labels and artists and digitize out-of-print music catalogs to tap into the growing market for the sounds and chart toppers from the continent.
Frank Alchide Kaku, Managing Director of Universal Music Group, Music Africa, and the recently launched Virgin Music Africa label and artist services, said it has over 15,000 music titles, 50 partner labels, and around 100 artists from 25 countries. The artists include Senegal's Imbalax Maestro, Youssou N'Dour, Congo's Lokwa Kanza, Magic System from Ivory Coast, and Cabo Snoop from Angola. Global media and music brands are racing to claim a stake in the continent's music market as artists and genres such as Afrobeat, Rumba, and Amapiano from the continent headline global concerts and festival and top charts. Music streaming platforms including Spotify, Apple Music, and Boomplay are also tapping into the growing market with dedicated and expanded offerings and services. Boosted by internet and smartphone penetration, media consumption is changing rapidly in the continent and consumed far beyond its borders, aided by the digital platforms. Kaku said that Virgin's service will give digital life and distribute hundreds of African musical heritage that are in vinyl, cassette, or CD formats that do not correspond to the mode of consumption of a younger audience today. The new service aims to also support independent labels in digital distribution who are looking for a wider network.
That's it for entertainment news. My name is Asiodua Akumia. Bridget?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Asid. Well, international news is next.
Nations have begun voting on whether to accept a new constitution put forward by President Kais Saied. Many are expected to boycott in an effort not to legitimize the process they see as enabling a return to dictatorial rule in the country. Foreign Minister is in Congo as part of Russia's African Charm offensive that also takes Sergei Lavrov to Egypt, Uganda, and Ethiopia. Lavrov arrived Sunday evening in Oyo in northern Congo, some 400 kilometers north of the capital's Brazzaville, and a stronghold of Congolese President Denis Nguesso. Sassou Nguesso and Lavrov will hold face-to-face talks on Monday and later travel on to Uganda and Ethiopia on his African tour, designed to shore up support for Russia on the international stage. The European Union's executive arm has approved a smallpox vaccine for use against monkeypox after the World Health Organization declared its spread a global health emergency, the Danish drug maker that developed the jab said. A wildfire burning out of control through tinder dry forests near California's Yosemite National Park has forced thousands of residents to flee remote mountain communities. Some 2,000 firefighters on Monday battled the oak fire, which grew into one of the biggest blazes of the year in the western United States. Aided by aircraft and bulldozers, they faced tough conditions, including steep terrain, sweltering temperatures, and low humidity. This is according to the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection.
Right, and that's it for Newsnight. We have one-on-one at 9 p.m. and at 10 p.m. Newsline team will be here to bring you more on the budget and the reaction we had across the country. My name is Bridget Otu. Have a good evening.